we have a perfect segue to talk about Syria. So there's a lot going on. When we did this last week, everybody, absolutely everybody, thought we were going to war. Obama said we were going to war. A lot of people, including myself, were giving him a lot of crap for not going to Congress, which then he decided he was going to do. At the same time, he also decided he couldn't go to the UN because China and Russia were going to veto anything we did. And then John Kerry, who, first off, can we have a national discussion about what happened to his face? Really, what happened to his face? Then John Kerry, in seemingly a gaffe, not his first gaffe, because he had also made a mistake at the Security Council saying something about having boots on the ground. He asked a question, or was answering a question, about how Syria could get out of this, and he sort of offhandedly remarked, well, if they give up all their chemical weapons, then we can probably wrap this thing up. I actually had tweeted that a couple weeks ago. But I'm not sure he follows me. Anywho, so now it looks like we're not going to war, and President Obama addressed the nation last night. He even had a fancy graphic that he tweeted out about it, and let's take a look.
Over the last few days, we've seen some encouraging signs, in part because of the credible threat of U.S. military action, as well as constructive talks that I had with President Putin. The Russian government has indicated a willingness to join with the international community in pushing Assad to give up his chemical weapons. The Assad regime has now admitted that it has these weapons, and even said they joined the Chemical Weapons Convention, which prohibits their use. It's too early to tell whether this offer will succeed, and any agreement must verify that the Assad regime keeps its commitments. But this initiative has the potential to remove the threat of chemical weapons without the use of force, particularly because Russia is one of Assad's strongest allies.
Okay, there you go. So Congress then canceled their vote. The UN yesterday was supposed to vote on come up with a resolution about this Russian proposal. That got canceled too. So it's sort of an out for everybody. Obama doesn't have to go to an unpopular war. Congress doesn't even have to vote on it. The UN gets off, at least for now, although that's probably going to happen sometime next week. To me, Russia seems like the winner here. And when I watch that, it's like, it's a typical Obama. Like, I like what he's saying as usual, and he seems like a nice guy, but I just have a feeling that we seriously got played by the Russians, that they basically used our military to get more influence in the Middle East. Jayar, what do you think is the general, is this a win for the United States? We did not go into a war that nobody wanted, yet it seems to me we come out looking sort of like we're Putin's pansies. Putin's Pansies, which is a political party in Russia.
It's also the name of your new band.
There's going to be a few popping up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, I think if I didn't see that perception at first, and as I'm hearing it, I can see that point coming. At the end of it, I don't care. Because the first thing we're worried about, the reason there were so many people against it was, I mean, we're looking at death. We're looking at unknowns in where we're launching attacks. We're looking at, I don't know, another war. In a quick aside back to the 9/11 talk, we're war tired. You know, we're tired of this.
And that's a huge piece of this, and everyone keeps talking about it, how we're a war-weary nation. But is that sort of part of the problem with American influence now, that maybe sometimes we can't now do the right thing? Again, I've been completely against this war, but that we can't save people, even the 100,000 people that died, because the nation just doesn't want any more war.
Pushback, as you were saying, the first thing we think, we're skeptical of things that happen in our country now because of what we've done, even our own citizens. So we're a lot more alert about what is going on. Okay, so what exactly is your proof? John Kerry, there's a few gaffes you had in there. Before, we wouldn't have listened so closely to what John Kerry was saying. We're like, we remember what Colin Ball said, and we kind of just glossed over and said, oh, it sounds really bad, let's go.
Yeah.
Now we're thinking, at the 15th minute of your 30-minute speech, you said this, and this. How about you verify that?
Yeah.
We're on it more. And maybe it's our bubble because this is what we do.
I was gonna say, I don't think a lot of people in America are listening 15 minutes into a John Kerry speech. But
Most people
I mean, you hope. You hope.
But the media is definitely more aware.
The internet-based media is.
Yeah.
So in things like, they'll cut out the point that everyone needs to take in, that they couldn't listen to, and maybe more. I mean, of course, not the large percentage. I still think a lot of Americans are completely uninformed, but it's a growing number.
Yeah, well, that's why we're doing something good around here, I like to think.
I'm sorry, I cut you off like 3 times.
No, not at all.
Wait, all right, so when you watch that, did you feel that this was an honest assessment of actually what happened, or that we just have to spin it? Because Obama didn't really want to, it seemed like he really didn't want to do this in the first place.
You know, all of this just makes me angry. I have to say, it's just so frustrating and so annoying. It's like these dudes, it's all men that have their stupid little countries and their stupid power, and they're like, pow, pow, I want to get you. Oh, I know. And then Russia's like, no, Syria's my best friend. I'm going to bail them out. And Osama's like, wait, Putin, you want to talk? Let's talk. Do you want to do? It just feels like a bunch of immature men that have all this power, that are playing a board game of Risk, and everyone's lives are at stake. And as long as they look good, it doesn't matter. Like, it infuriates me. Yeah. And yeah, the only friend they have left is Syria. Everyone's like, we hate Russia. Yeah. We hate America. So yeah, I agree with you. You know, listen, if Russia comes out and they're like, at the end of the day, I don't want U.S. to be involved. And the Syrian, it's like every single country is, horrible things are happening, and we keep going in, and it never ends well. And so the thing overall, I have to say though, Obama can't do anything right. He can't do anything right. If he doesn't go in, the Republicans are going to be, we should have gotten him. If he goes in, I can't believe. So the smartest thing he did was to ask to go to Congress. When I heard that last Thursday, I was like, at least you're protecting yourself. You're protecting yourself, because he cannot do anything right.
Isn't that crazy though, how everything is so political? At the end of the day, like, this is, as Cenk always says, he's just a politician, and everything is political. Because, for example, we couldn't go to the UN Security Council in the first place because we know that Syria is Russia's best friend. But now we're kicking it back to the UN, who's going to have to take care of the chemical weapons. So hasn't Obama sort of bungled his own sort of, like, I want everything to be international, but now we're kicking it back to an organization that he knows doesn't really work?
He actually stepped into it going that direction. He's going, well, at least the blame is no longer going to be on me. As you were saying, he had to worry about the red line talk he had. Then there was the weakness or strength of that, backing himself up. The political side of it, because he's dealing with a party that's 98% against everything he does. Then he has to worry about that. Then he has to deal with actually backing his words about saying we're not trying to get no more wars. All these things he's trying to protect, and when he saw a window of opportunity, he's like, well, there's going to be some negatives to hit on this, but let's go with it, because it's the least amount of negatives.
Right, and then of course Congress gets off the hook completely. A group with 15% approval that everybody, including me, as I said, wanted to have to vote on this, because I do believe in the Constitution, that they don't even have to, at the end of the day, they're not going to have to do anything.
Well, I mean, listen, it's ugly all around, but at the end of the day, if Russia somehow, or all of us somehow, get the chemical weapons out of Syria, I don't see this ending well. And like, what are they going to, like, open the door and be like, our chemical weapons are on the corner of 4th and Main. Here's the code key. Just go in and clean them up and get out, and everything's going to be fine. Right. And then we won't gas everyone, but we've got another military stockpile of huge weapons, and we're just going to continue to shoot people. Okay,
so we'll get to that in one second. But the idea that we're going to go into, we or the UN or Russia or whoever is going to go into the middle of a horrific civil war and somehow walk out of there with literally thousands of tons of chemical weapons is a little nuts.
Everybody stop shooting. I'm just going to go down the street and get those weapons. I'll be right back.